Hello and welcome to my History Revision Podcast. We will be going through a timeline of prehistoric medicine, Egyptian medicine, Greek medicine and Roman medicine. Before I begin, I would like to say that some of the medical beliefs from the prehistory part, may be false, as they happened before recorded history. So let's begin. In prehistoric times, a headache was treated by a medicine man, a bit like the modern day doctor, who would cut a hole in the back of their head to release evil spirits. This process is called trepping. There's sort of many different ways of calling it. And in most cases, the patient died as a result, but over time, archaeologists, have found skeletons of sometimes a hole, and then it's sort of regrown. So, and sometimes people survived it, and that's what that was. This is a bit of a very short one. So now we go forward in our timeline to Egyptian medicine. The ancient Egyptians wrote historical records in hieroglyphics. That's not how we know this existed. So we can study some of these records to find out about their medical beliefs. The ancient Egyptians had a lot of supernatural beliefs, so they believed in a lot of gods, some of them who would control healing, illness, and other things. They used amulets and charms to protect them health, to ward off evil spirits. The Egyptians also believed that they had an irrigation system in their body, and if they became blocked, it would cause illness. Also, another sort of belief that sort of hindered was because of their religion. They didn't believe in dissection, because for them, you had to have a whole body to enter into the afterlife. Now we move on to sort of the most sort of lengthiest part of our journey, the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks made communication between doctors a lot easier because they shared ideas, because they sort of invented reading materials and other things. Sorry, that's my iPad. The doctors observed patients and learnt from this. So if they hadn't come across an illness, they would say, observe the patient and sort of make notes, and then go off and share them with other doctors, saying, oh, here's what I found, and this is how we can treat it, or do you think you can treat it? And as well, they had supernatural beliefs. Asclepius is the Greek god of healing, and they built temples called Asclepians, where ill people would go to get healed. A bit like a hell farm / hospital type place. But moving on to non-sort of supernatural, was a very famous doctor in that period called Hippocrates. He's nicknamed the founding father of modern medicine. He had a collection of books called the Hippocratic Collection, and he made the Hippocratic Oath. The Hippocratic Oath is still used today, and it is that one of the lines of the oath shall thou shalt not harm my patient, I think. And he also, I only found out this the other day, which I found quite interesting, is he expanded Aristotle's theory of the four humours. The four humours were blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. These were linked to the elements fire, air, water, and earth, and also the seasons: autumn, winter, spring, summer, and winter. They believed that you had to keep a balance of the four humours in your body. If they were unequal, say if you had too much phlegm and too little yellow bile, you would therefore become ill. And some of the cures of sort of balancing out the four humours were throwing up or bloodletting, if they had too much blood, so they would cut you open and sort of let blood sort of drip into like a bronze bleeding pot and sort of stitch you back together. And now we move on to our final part of the timeline, the ancient Romans. They had a very healthy army, because they sort of believed that if they had a healthy army, they would conquer sort of continents a lot more easier. And they had a very famous university called in Alexandria, where they had the Great Library of Alexandria. And this is where on ancient scrolls from the Greeks and the Egyptians, they could sort of learn about sort of other cures that other doctors before their time have found. They also did believe in the theory of the four humours. Going back to the army, they had skilled doctors in the army, so they could treat injuries on the field there and then. And they were very good at removing arrows from the knee. The Romans also had a very good approach to public health. They believed that everyone would become a lot more sort of cleaner and healthier if so much dirt was not around. Such as they built aqueducts to sort of fresh water from springs and take them to the towns and cities. They also had a sewage system to under the ground, so you couldn't smell all the raw sewage in the streets. And they also built public bathhouses, but unfortunately the water would become very sort of smelly, and it would only get changed about once a fortnight, unfortunately, so it would pong a bit. And we now move on to another famous doctor in Greek times called Galen, who was actually Greek-born, but a Roman doctor who performed dissections on pigs to study the nervous system, as he believed they were very similar to the human nervous system. And he also believed in sort of the reverse humours. So instead of sort of for phlegm, sort of to be sick, and to sort of eat sort of very different foods for the winter, you would eat stuff for the summer. So very warm sort of wine, bread, starchy food to get rid of the phlegm. And that rounds us off on our timeline. I will do a Renaissance one in the coming days or months. So, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because I will be uploading this to YouTube, because I think this could help a lot of people in different places. So see you next time.